If you like movies, check out my movie review channel. Every single movie title you see on the screen, I have a video about coming out within the next 2 weeks. I'm uploading a video every day for 2 weeks, so definitely make sure you're subscribed there. The link is in the description below. I got some other stuff on there too, some like breakdowns of certain scenes I like and things like that, so check it out. So you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I don't care what you actually are. Right now, you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And so you're thinking, what are things that could go right and what are things that could go wrong for your team? Well, look no further. I have 5 things that could go right for the Philadelphia Eagles and 5 things that could go wrong. Let's start off with the top 5 things that could go wrong, and then we'll get into what could go right. Number 5 is speed versus Bradberry. And again, just to be clear, I am not saying these are things I think will happen. Just these are things that I could see happening, and if they do happen, would have massive impacts on Super Bowl 57. And one of those things is the Chiefs have a ton of speedy receivers. James Bradberry is pretty much good at everything else other than speed. That's his one weakness. And could I see a scenario where MVS is on Bradberry, they decide to leave him one-on-one, and MVS is able to run by Bradberry? I could. I absolutely could see that. Again, I think Bradberry's shifty enough that he won't have it happen too often. But again, if we're talking concerns, this is a potential concern. Number 4 is Hurts hurt. I mean, this is something that hasn't really gotten talked about a ton compared to the Mahomes injury. Obviously, everyone's talking about Mahomes and what's the health of Mahomes and how healthy will he be. We don't know the full health of Jalen Hurts either. Jalen Hurts got banged up towards the end of the season, and he played week 18 to make sure that they got the first round bye. Then he played in the divisional round and in the conference championship. But I think it's fair to say he hasn't quite been as good in those games as he was prior to the injury. Is he banged up, or is it just a coincidence? I don't know. He's also now had 2 more weeks to, prepare and to just get healthier. But at the same time, if you're an Eagles fan, there might be something in the back of your head saying, but hopefully Jalen Hurts, I'm sure Jalen Hurts is okay, right? Yeah, Jalen Hurts is okay. We're sure, right? That's what you're probably telling yourself. Number 3 is just the inexperience that Philadelphia has. Philadelphia is a team that I've talked about this a lot on several different videos at this point. And again, it's not something that is tangible, right? We can't talk about this, but Philadelphia is a team that they have not had to play a team like Kansas City this season. They just haven't. They haven't had that experience. And in the big games, where usually the playoff games are a little bit different, they haven't had to really have a close game at all. So now going into a game where you expect it to be a close one, you expect there to be some stressful situations, there will be some frustrating moments for the Eagles. They might handle it fine, but we just don't know how they will handle it because we haven't seen them in that situation before. So there's a question mark there, and that is a concern for the Eagles of what if things go very wrong because they haven't had this experience before. It's just a question mark that is, you have to put it on a potential concern. Number 2 is TJ Edwards versus Travis Kelce. TJ Edwards, great linebacker, like him a lot. Can he cover Travis Kelce one-on-one consistently? No. He cannot. I do not trust him to do that. I do not think that he will be able to do that because I don't think hardly any linebacker can do that. Travis Kelce just, on a different level, not to mention the Eagles are going to run a good amount of zones, so Kelce's so good at getting into gaps and coverage. That's a massive concern if you're an Eagles fan. You have to make sure that you're paying attention to Kelce at all times. And I'm saying TJ Edwards, that's the guy I've been talking about on Kelce all week, but we don't know if that's what's actually going to happen. Who knows who will be on Travis Kelce? Maybe they put CJ Gardner-Johnson on Kelce for a decent chunk. Doesn't matter. Kelce's going to get his yards. Kelce's going to get his points here. You just have to hope you can limit him. You're not going to stop him. Hopefully you can slow him down. And number 1 is Mahomes goes off. I mean, if Mahomes goes off, that's a concern, and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, I mean, there are things you can do about it, right? You can definitely find ways to slow him down, but how many times have we seen some of those plays where it's like, what were you supposed to do about that? Mahomes can make those. Doesn't matter how good of a defense you're in, he's going to still find a way to, move the ball down the field. He's someone who can do that, and it's a concern if you are an Eagles fan that he could do that on you in the Super Bowl, because the last thing you want is to be saying, well, what were we supposed to do about it on a certain plays? He will probably do that a time or two. That probably will happen. You just hope he doesn't do that too often. But okay, enough negative. What could go right for the Eagles. How about fourth downs? Fourth downs is the big one, I think, as Nick Sirianni has been one of the more analytically inclined coaches in the NFL when it comes to fourth down decision making. He's been very good at this all season long. He's towards the top of the league in terms of going for it on fourth down when he should, and it's paid off in big ways. I mean, it paid off against the Giants last week, certainly, or I guess 2 weeks ago, certainly, and I could see it happening again. I really do think that this is something that could potentially win them a Super Bowl. Wouldn't be the first time a fourth down decision helped win the Philadelphia Eagles a Super Bowl. Of course, Doug Peterson with the Philly special, which is currently still the most iconic Philadelphia Eagles play. Maybe there will be a new one. Maybe Nick Sirianni has something dialed up to one up the Philly special, the Philly even more special coming up. I don't know. It's possible, right? But what could be fascinating, it just could be an interesting play here. Also, another thing worth mentioning, Andy Reid doesn't love to go for it on fourth down, although he will in big games. That's kind of the weird thing about him, is in big games he actually calls those pretty well, but in the regular season he struggles. But maybe he'll punt on a decision where he should have gone for it. Maybe that's how you can win a game, is just getting the edges there. Number 4, Mahomes isn't fully healthy. I put on this list, which is, when I made it on the other side for the other team of the Chiefs and what could go right and wrong, this was number 1 for what could go wrong. I'm having it at number 4 for what could go right. But, again, feels weird. No one's rooting for an injury, but the reality is, if you're an Eagles fan, you're rooting for your team to win, and if Mahomes isn't fully healthy, that would help your team win. You want to beat Mahomes at full strength, but there's no doubt about it that if Mahomes isn't fully healthy, that is something that would go very right in terms of the Eagles winning a Super Bowl. Number 3 is Kansas City can't get separation. I've talked a lot about, the Eagles haven't had to play a team like the Chiefs. Have the Chiefs had to play a coverage like the Eagles? I don't know. I don't know if that's fair to say. I think the Eagles coverage might be the best coverage unit that the Kansas City Chiefs had to play this season. And what if they can't get open? Not to mention, half of their guys are banged up right now in terms of their receivers. Now, again, I trust Kelce to get open, and I trust Mahomes to find the open guys, but if they can't get separation consistently, that could go very wrong. Number 2, the Eagles' great offensive line. This is a very good offensive line. That's not doing it justice. This is an all-time great offensive line. All 5 guys are incredible, and Hurts should have plenty of time to throw, and they should be able to run the ball very effectively. Maybe even more importantly, the running the ball aspect, as they should be able to run the ball, then they can run play actions, and then Jalen Hurts can even run the ball himself with this stuff. The defensive line for Kansas City is going to be definitely tired. You're going to get Chris Jones kind of not to be able to have the same impact he's used to having, which will then hurt the secondary because they have to cover for a little bit longer than they're used to. That's going to be a concern. So the Eagles' great offensive line, that's something you're hyping yourself up if you're an Eagles fan for. And again, there's a chance it goes very well. The reality is, I don't know if there's a chance it goes poorly. I think this is going to be a big mismatch for the Eagles. Finally, number 1, the Eagles' pass rush. And again, keep in mind, these are things where I'm not saying these are going to happen, just that this could happen. There is a chance that the pass rush takes over this game. Again, I've talked about this before. I've made how many videos on the Super Bowl. I've talked about a lot of this stuff before at this point. But Andrew Wiley, the right tackle for the Chiefs, is not the best. He was the right tackle 2 years ago when they lost the Super Bowl. He's now, still there. And if they can, rush the passer consistently against him and win consistently against him, there's a way that could go very wrong for Kansas City. Now, there's counter ways that Kansas City can make it work. For example, they can just chip for Wiley. But another thing I brought up is I think that Reddick, his explosiveness could be a mismatch for Orlando Brown Jr., who will get beat with speed at times. And if that happens, you could get pressure from either side, and that could be a real key impact for a team that's, they've gotten pressure consistently all season. It'd be weird to bet against that happening now, and it could have a huge impact, not just the impact we expect it to have. So those are the 5 things that could go right, the 5 things that could go wrong. Should be an interesting Super Bowl. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.